Morant with a running start. Elevate! Dunks! Oh my goodness! Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn. His heat is gone! Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining. Conley now with three. Count it! A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance. Adams going long. Morant! He hit it! Ja Morant, insanity!
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. My name is Keith Parrish. The Grizzlies lost a crucial game against the Los Angeles Lakers on Saturday night. Of course, it was the first game with Tomas Isalo as interim head coach. It was a very important game for playoff seeding. It felt like some of that was overshadowed by, of course, it being the first game since Taylor Jenkins was let go. The Grizzlies got Ja Morant back from injury. They got strong performances from their big three. They also got a great game from Zach Edey, but it wasn't enough. So on today's episode, I'll talk about the game against the Lakers. I'll talk about Tomas Isalo. I'll talk a little bit more about them letting Taylor Jenkins go. Of course, I released a quote-unquote emergency podcast on Friday with my immediate thoughts. Now that we've had an entire weekend to digest it, I guess I got a little bit more to say about it. So before we get into all of that stuff, just a reminder that on Tuesday, for the huge game against the Warriors, I will be hosting a Grizzlies watch party in Nashville. We will be at Nobles East. The game's at 7 o'clock. It is the second game of a back-to-back. This watch party is not tonight on Monday. Monday, the Grizzlies have a home game against the Celtics. Not easy. And then on Tuesday, second night of a back-to-back, we play a very important game against the Warriors. If you want to hang out with other Grizzlies fans and watch the game and win some Grizzlies prizes from me, come down to Nobles Beer Hall. Again, Tuesday, April 1st, 7 p.m. Nobles, I'll see you there. All right. The Grizzlies, of course, changed their coach over the weekend. It stunned most of the NBA for the timing. I think it stunned most people who even follow the Grizzlies that they would do it with 9 games to go before the playoffs. I'll say one angle of it that I think is bizarre, or maybe, I don't know if the most bizarre, but one of the really bizarre angles of this departure of Taylor Jenkins to me is it seems like Zach Kleiman is really putting himself at risk here as far as the public relations blowback. Like, let's just say, like, what if the season goes horribly? I mean, obviously they lost to the Lakers on Saturday. You're now a game behind the Lakers as you chase the 4th seed, but you lost the tiebreaker because of this defeat to the Lakers. So essentially you're 2 games behind the Lakers with 8 to play. 7 of your remaining 8 opponents have something to play for as of right now. If you drop down into the play-in, right now you're a game and a half clear of the play-in. If the Grizzlies drop down to the play-in and lose in the play-in and don't make the playoffs, and you're a GM who fired your coach 9 games before those playoffs, how does that not all blow back on Zach Kleiman? I think those of us who cover the team, we were not optimistic. At least I wasn't optimistic about the Grizzlies winning a playoff series, even with Taylor Jenkins. Like, it was trending very poorly. They haven't beaten a team with a winning record since the beginning of February. But even still, you were tied for the 4th best record in the West when you let him go. If your season completely goes off the rails and you don't even make the postseason and you fired your coach, it seems like the criticism that Zach Kleiman has opened himself up to is massive. I mean, maybe he's just perfectly confident that Robert Pera is not going to make a move no matter what. Does Robert Pera even watch the games? No one has any idea. When addressing the media on Saturday morning, Zach Kleiman emphasized over and over that the decision was his and his alone. He had a 2-minute and 40-second media availability. He said basically absolutely nothing. The reporters asked questions. He did not really answer any of the questions. He just went to what seemed to be his prepared statements that he'd worked on beforehand, saying, the decision was mine. I put a lot of thought into it. He did not consult any players. He said he consulted no one. Well, I guess technically he says, the decision is mine and mine only. He was asked if he informed any players of the decision. He did not answer that question. He volunteered the fact that he consulted no players for the decision. Now, maybe when he says the decision is mine and mine only, maybe he did, in fact, actually talk to Robert Pera about it. Maybe not. Maybe he has free reign to do whatever he wants with this Grizzlies roster, with this Grizzlies coaching staff. Now, I do think it's interesting to hear from the players themselves, and if we piece this together, like, we're missing a lot of information. We don't have the full story for these things, but it was interesting hearing from each person who spoke saying how they found out about it. Like, Jaren and Desmond said they heard about it from Zach. Desmond said he actually had a long talk on the phone with Taylor Jenkins after he got fired. Desmond also said, it's the player's fault that he got let go. Taylor never shot a shot this year or guarded anybody. But like, Ja Morant says he found out from other people. Maybe Ja Morant, he said he was in bed, so maybe Ja Morant was sleeping, just resting away from his phone. He found out from other people, then reached out to Jaren, but Jaren had found out from Zach Kleiman. Anyways, I guess it doesn't matter how these players found out. Most of them, it seemed like, found out from social media. Like, Gigi Jackson said he was stunned. Jalen Wells said he was stunned. By the way, Gigi Jackson also said he was really surprised when he got sent down to the hustle last week. I thought that was notable. I thought maybe that was one of those old, yeah, sure, I'll go to the hustle and get some more work in. No, he was surprised he got sent to the hustle. Also, he did not play on Saturday night, and he was surprised that Taylor Jenkins got let go. And again, we all go back to the timing of it. With 9 games to go, if you feel like your only chance of advancing in the postseason is to fire the guy, if you feel like you're not going to win a playoff series with him, then you make the move. Like, maybe it was a situation where you didn't want to risk. Is it possible you didn't want to risk winning a playoff series with Taylor Jenkins because you'd already made up your mind that you were going to let him go? To me, the downside seems greater if there were any pressure on Zach Kleiman. If I'm a GM and I'm worried about my job security, do I stick with the coach for a team that's been slumping badly, that is 20th in defensive rating over the second half of the season, that hasn't beaten a team with a winning record in who knows how long? Do I stick with that, or do I give a guy, Tomas Isalo, do I give a guy his first ever NBA head coaching job and say, hey, you take over with 9 games left. Oh, by the way, our schedule is very hard, and it's possible we slip down from the 2 seed where we were at weeks ago. It's possible we slip all the way out of the postseason. Seems risky. But anyways, Tomas got his shot on Saturday, and he at least was candid, or more candid than Taylor Jenkins was when speaking to the media. It was interesting to hear him talk before the game and after the game. A little bit more forthcoming. Taylor Jenkins, I feel like he's famous among the media for saying absolutely nothing when he talks. Tomas, after the game, just kept emphasizing how the team needs to do the simple things better. In the basketball game against the Lakers, they got off to a slow start. The Lakers had a massive first half. They built up a 20-point lead in the second quarter. The Grizzlies fought back. They took the lead in the second half. They were ahead halfway through the fourth quarter, but end up losing. Lakers score 134 points. And he was saying how it's just the simple things. We're not doing the simple things. He also acknowledged there's not a lot different that you can really install at this time of the year. He said they're not going to make any massive changes to the offense. And a lot of the talk about the offense, there, of course, were other coaches involved in the Grizzlies installing this new offense. Also, of course, one of the big stories of Taylor Jenkins being let go, and one of the things I didn't know about when I released the episode on Friday, they ended up firing actually 2 other assistant coaches. Patrick St. Andrews was let go. So was Noah LaRoche. And Noah LaRoche is perhaps the guy most in charge of the new offense that's gotten so much publicity this year. It's possible I incorrectly attributed that to Isalo in the episode. Frankly, I don't remember. I've been doing too many podcast episodes over the last several days. But like Noah LaRoche, he's the guy for the no pick and roll situation or the fewer ball screens, that type of thing. Isalo, his Euro club teams were known for running lots and lots of pick and roll. And so maybe he's going to install more of that. I think lots of people tracked in the game against the Lakers that the Grizzlies had their 8th most screens or 8th most pick and rolls that they've run in a game all year. So maybe they're trying to do more of that. And then we talk about how the new offense or any offensive changes, maybe they weren't highlighting Ja Morant's best tendencies. Now, also, the return of Ja Morant was notable. You fired Taylor Jenkins, and now Ja Morant is healthy enough to play. I don't think there's any correlation there to the timing of Taylor Jenkins and Ja Morant's health. However, it did lead everyone to crack jokes about it. I mean, if Ja Morant was not healthy, would they still have fired Taylor Jenkins? Like, are you going to turn it over to Tomas with no Ja Morant in that game against the Lakers? I would guess so, just because of the home game and you're running out of season. But all of a sudden, Ja Morant's healthy, and all of a sudden, Zach Edey's back in the starting lineup. I thought that was notable. But anyways, maybe with Tomas Isalo, he's going to do more traditional pick and roll things to better play into Ja Morant's strengths, and there was some evidence of that occurring on Saturday night. Now, with the release of the assistant coaches, Patrick St. Andrews and Noah LaRoche, it's notable that now the only holdover on the coaching staff from 2 years ago is Anthony Carter. Now, I guess you could say maybe Jason March. Jason March was with the organization at large. He was the head coach of the Hustle. He was part of the coaching staff overhaul last offseason that he got moved from being head coach of the Hustle to being an assistant coach. Jason March is now lead assistant for Isalo. But after they changed over most of the coaching staff, the one guy that stuck around was Patrick St. Andrews. Patrick St. Andrews was hired 2 years ago to help revamp the offense. This year, apparently, he was tasked with running more of the defense. He's gone. Noah LaRoche was a new hire just last offseason. He made it less than a year on the Grizzlies staff. So now, Tomas Isalo, interim head coach. And I think going forward, before I get to more of the game against the Lakers, I think going forward, a big question is, will he be the choice to be head coach next season? Will they give him a little latitude this year? Maybe latitude is the wrong word. Like, is this final stretch an audition for him? I think Zach Kleiman was asked that, and he said, expectations are realistic. It doesn't seem fair to have this be an audition for Isalo. I would guess right now that more than likely, I would expect him to be the Grizzlies head coach next year. I think when you hired him this offseason, maybe you thought, all right, this could be the guy. If you overhauled Taylor Jenkins' staff without a lot of input from Taylor Jenkins or without him having the final call on that, so maybe you were thinking, if you're Zach Kleiman, all right, Tomas Isalo is maybe going to be my guy going forward if it doesn't work out with Taylor Jenkins this season. So I think more than likely, but I'm not going to say I'm super confident. I would say like a 55% chance next year Isalo is head coach. And 45% chance they go with an outside hire. But anyways, Taylor Jenkins fired. Of course, he was the winningest regular season coach in franchise history, had 250 regular season wins. He was tied with Dave Yeager for the second most playoff victories. Taylor had 9 postseason wins. Of course, Lionel Hollins has the most postseason victories in franchise history. So going into the Lakers game, I think the big question among Grizzlies fans, we're wondering, how is it going to look any different? What's going to be different? Will Isalo change the starting lineup? Will he play different players, different amounts of minutes? Will he lean more heavily on the big three? Well, he did change the starting lineup. I did incorrectly guess that Aldama was going to be the starter for the rest of the year. They decided, all right, we're not going to play Edey to start and close games. For the playoffs, we're going to do Aldama. Let's make the switch now. Well, once Taylor Jenkins was let go, nope. Isalo went back to Zach Edey, and Edey again responded with one of his better games of the year. Edey had a double-double against the Lakers, had 17 points. I was kind of wondering, like, are they going to stick with Jalen Wells? I mean, Jalen Wells has had a good year, but also he's a rookie. And I was wondering, maybe if a new head coach comes in, he's like, listen, I'm not going to play this rookie all the time now. This is my chance to move in a veteran. I don't know who exactly it would be. If he's going to be like, all right, Vince Williams Jr. is starting now. John Conchar is starting now. I don't know. I was just curious, but it turns out, Jalen Wells still in the starting lineup, but Zach Edey back in the starting lineup. Now, when we talk about minutes, when we talk about the rotation against the Lakers, boy, nothing was changed. It was the same. They played 11 guys, 11-man rotation. Now, maybe some of that was because of Jaren Jackson Jr.'s foul trouble. Like Lamar Stevens was one of the first guys who checked in. I mean, I didn't really think Lamar Stevens was going to be part of the healthy Grizzlies rotation in Isalo's first game, but he was. They played 11 guys. And also, very notably, no Grizzlies player played more than 33 minutes. You had 4 Lakers players play over 37 minutes. Austin Reeves destroyed the Grizzlies. Luka Doncic, LeBron James were great. Those guys all played way more minutes than any Grizzlies player. And you lost a relatively close game. You were up in the fourth quarter. It was a single possession game in clutch time. If you play your main guys more minutes, could you have possibly won? Now, I give credit to Chris Harrington for directly asking after the game, like, hey, you didn't play your guys very many minutes. I'm thinking, it was the exact same Taylor Jenkins thing. Like, this is what Taylor Jenkins does. And Isalo, I thought, gave a good answer. I think he explained it as best we've heard it explained before. I mean, we've heard this before. It's good to hear it again. I thought he did a good job of just saying, the plan is we're going to play our guys less minutes, and in those fewer minutes that they play, they're going to play with more intensity than the other team. We're going to get more out of Ja Morant and Desmond Bane and Jaren in 31 to 33 minutes than they would be able to give us if they played 38 minutes. That's the theory. That's the idea. It's hard to disprove. It's even hard to prove. You can look at Desmond Bane, had a great game, had a really nice bounce back from the poor shooting performance against the Thunder. Desmond Bane played nearly 33 minutes. He made 2/3 of his field goal attempts. He was 5 out of 8 from 3, had 29 points, 6 assists, and 0 turnovers. Part of me says, and you only played him 33 minutes? You won the minutes he played and we lost. But the theory is, because he only played 33 minutes, he was able to go that much harder and give you that strong of a performance. Jaren, his minutes were limited because of foul trouble. He only played 8 minutes in the first half because of foul trouble. Did Jaren foul out? No. Jaren had 22 points in the second half. Jaren was 8 for 13 from the field, made 3 out of 4 3-pointers, but only played 28 and a half minutes. The idea being you're going to get better production, like 29 minutes of Jaren going at 100% is going to be better than 38 minutes of Jaren going at 95% or 90%. That's sort of the math. But I loved how Isalo acknowledged if your players are playing fewer minutes than the other team's best players and they're not exceeding the other players, the opponent's intensity, well, then it doesn't work. Well, then you have to play your better players more minutes. I'm going to go ahead and wager when we get to the playoffs, we're going to play our better players more minutes. But I thought it was notable that the rotation basically you couldn't discern a difference. I mean, there were a few notable things. The Grizzlies started the fourth quarter with this lineup of Ja Morant, Luke Kennard, Vince Williams Jr., Jaren Jackson Jr., and Zach Edey. You'd think that's a pretty reasonable lineup that any coach would put out there. That was the first time they'd played together all year. Now, of course, there's always health and availability for why these lineups haven't played together. But again, Ja Morant, Luke Kennard, Vince Williams Jr., Jaren, and Zach Edey, they played their first minutes together of the whole season to start the fourth quarter. Grizzlies went on a run. Grizzlies took a 4-point lead, 111-107, after a nice Zach Edey putback. Again, huge Zach Edey game. He was not tasked with closing the game. He played with force. This is the Zach Edey we were hoping for when we got him. But like Zach Edey was great, they still closed with Santi Aldama, not Zach Edey, despite Edey getting the start. But the Lakers called timeout down 4 with like 7 minutes left. And then guess what? Ja Morant subbed out of the game. This is specifically the thing that people got so mad at Taylor Jenkins about this year. Ja Morant subs out. Grizzlies are up 4. I mean, of course, there's context. This was Ja Morant's first game back from injury. At the start of the fourth quarter, it looked like he tweaked his hamstring. He's limping around out there. He looks physically limited. But people didn't want context when Taylor Jenkins did it. But anyways, all right, so you're winning by 4. Ja Morant goes to the bench. The Lakers have a quick 6-0 run to take the lead back. Then what happens? Then they sub Jaren Jackson Jr. out. So it's 6 minutes to go, a one-possession game. Both Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. are on the bench. This is the exact thing people wanted to fire Taylor Jenkins for. Now we're doing it again. Now, I think the decision was reasonable. Like, they wanted to pull Jaren out to rest him for a minute. Give him a break with 6 minutes to go in a close game. They brought in Desmond Bane and Santi Aldama for Luke Kennard and Jaren Jackson Jr. The lineup was Scottie Pippen Jr., Desmond Bane, Vince Williams Jr., Santi Aldama, Zach Edey. To be perfectly clear, that lineup, I like it just fine. The way the rotation was going, it made sense. It seemed reasonable to rest Jaren for 1 minute. It seemed reasonable to bench Ja Morant because he was returning from injury. Ja Morant, the entire game, played in like these 5 or 6 minute stints. Play 6 minutes, he'd sub out for a while. He ended up playing over 30 minutes in his first game back from a hamstring injury. It's all, again, reasonable, but the loudest criticisms recently of Taylor Jenkins was, why are Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. on the bench in a close game in the middle of the fourth quarter? Well, there you go. The new coach did it too. By the time those guys sub back in, the Lakers end up having an 11-2 run. A Dorian Finney-Smith, who we did not trade for, he hits a 3, puts the Lakers up 5. Grizzlies, don't get any. Well, I think get within 3 a little bit later. One possession later, Jalen Wells had a pretty nice game. He hits a couple free throws, but you cut it to 3. I think it's 118-115. That's the closest you got. You lose the game. And again, the loss beyond the coaching change, which I feel like the coaching change has overshadowed how I'm hearing people talk about this loss. This loss is devastating for the standings. Let's get into that and a little bit of other stuff from this game right after this short break. Okay, losing the game to the Lakers meant you lost the season series to the Lakers. It also meant that you fell a game behind the Lakers in the standings because of the tiebreaker. That's essentially now 2 games behind the Lakers with 8 games to go. The Rockets won by 1,000,000 on Sunday. The Nuggets, I don't think you're catching the Nuggets, even though you are playing them again. Currently, it looks like best case for the Grizzlies is staying at 5th, meaning you go on the road for the first round of the playoffs. This loss basically means you don't get home court advantage. They still mathematically could. But this game right here, where you're taking it easy with minutes because you think that's your best way to win, this was a playoff game. To me, it was a playoff game. It was a must-win game. If you're going to win a first-round series, I think you needed home court advantage. And losing this game was devastating for your odds of hosting a playoff series. Now, you are only one game ahead of the Warriors, who are in 6th. Again, you play the Warriors on Tuesday. You play the Celtics on Monday. Tonight, you play the Celtics. Tomorrow, you play the Warriors. Again, that Warriors game, massive. If the Warriors beat you, I mean, if you lose to the Celtics tonight and the Warriors beat you, you're in 6th. If you're lucky, you might be in 7th by Tuesday. You are 1.5 games up on the Timberwolves. You're 2 games ahead of the Clippers. That's 1.5 games from the play-in. Again, that huge Warriors game. A watch party. Come hang out. Or come mourn together. I don't know. I'm excited about the game. I mean, I'm excited about the Grizzlies team. I'm excited about watching Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Desmond Bane play together. It's the way the season has gone. It's so upsetting. And also, more stuff on the season. I was looking into some of these numbers. I was just trying to dig a little bit deeper into the fall off this year. The offensive numbers have been good mostly all year. Sure, you can pick out, all right, they failed in the clutch in this game against a good team. Now we know they've struggled against good teams all year. They're, I think, 11-21 against teams over 500 for this season, which is, it's not competitive when you look at the best teams. It's one of the worst records among the Western Conference playoff teams. But trying to piece together like where it all went wrong, like there's no clear dividing line. I was just looking at some big round number things. I've done it before where I did the first half of the season versus the second half of the season. Well, if you look at the first 30 games, that's the one I looked up. First 30 games of the year, the Grizzlies were 4th in defensive rating. They were 4th in net rating through the first 30 games. This takes you to Christmas. 20-10 at Christmas. You were 4th in net rating, 4th in defensive rating. Since then, this is now 44 games. In the last 44 games, the Grizzlies are 21st in defensive rating, 14th in net rating, 24-20 in those last 44 games. In the first 30 games, I was just looking at who played. Maybe we can find an answer there. Maybe it's not Taylor Jenkins' fault. Let's just see who was available. In the first 30 games, the player who played the most minutes was Santi Aldama. Jaren was second, and then third in minutes in the first 30 games, Jalen Wells. 4th, Jake LaRavia. 5th, Scottie Pippen Jr. 6th, Desmond Bane. 7th, Brandon Clark. Ja was 8th. J Huff was 9th. Zach Edey 10th. Then Marcus Smart, 11th. Luke Kennard was 12th in minutes over the first 30 games. All right, so again, first 30 games, you're 4th in defense. And I think if you look at it, you say, okay, Santi, Jaren, Jalen, Jake, Scotty, Desmond, Brandon, those are 7 of your better or your best defenders. Maybe Santi's not a good defender. I mean, Desmond Bane got in that shoving match over Santi for not guarding people, perhaps. But at least Santi's like 6'10", 6'11", maybe 7 feet. I don't know. But most of your minutes are going to some of your positive defensive players. All right, last 44 games, who's played the most minutes? Desmond Bane has played the most minutes. Jaren is second, then Jalen Wells. Okay, those are some of your best players, your starters. Then Luke Kennard is 4th in minutes over the last 44 games. Zach Edey is 5th. Scotty's 6th. Ja's 7th. BC's 8th. Santi's down to 9th. Suddenly, Gigi Jackson is 10th in minutes in the last 44 games. Of course, we know those minutes have gone poorly for the defense. Vince Williams Jr. is 11th. You have Jake LaRavia then. Marcus Smart played 1 game since Christmas. Thanks for your contributions there. I mean, it's not that big of a difference. You just have a lot more minutes going to Luke Kennard and to Ja Morant. I don't know if there's that much to take away. I mean, yes, fewer minutes to Jake LaRavia, who was a positive. Obviously Marcus Smart is out of the rotation. So I don't know if it's like, there's not a big conclusion there for me. You can look at the individual defensive ratings of the players. That can be deceiving. Basically, the whole team has like a 117 or 118 defensive rating. Jaren has a 112. Gigi's is over 120. But like, I don't know. I did think it was a little bit notable which players were playing those minutes. But the big takeaway is just how drastic that changes. To say the first 30 games, you're 4th in defensive rating, and the last 44, you're 21st. I mean, that is completely fallen off a cliff. And it wasn't, frankly, it wasn't better. I don't know, again, what can Isalo do in one game? He said he wanted him to get friction on defense, to always have 5 guys match up. He said a lot of the reasons they're giving up a lot of points is because the team is overhelping a bunch. We saw in the first half, the Lakers made a ton of 3-pointers in the first half, and some of it seemed to be miscommunications where you're leaving guys open. I liked how Tomas emphasized how bad defense sometimes, it isn't a lack of effort, it's a lack of trust, where you don't have confidence in your teammate, so you begin overhelping. You don't think that guy's going to take care of his job, so I have to help. Thus, the defense gets overstretched. You leave players wide open. And again, the Grizzlies lost this game against the Lakers. It wasn't offense. The Grizzlies shot 52% from the field. The Grizzlies had over 30 assists. On the season, they were 25-5 when getting at least 30 assists. I think they were 23-5 when shooting at least 50%. You did all those things. You shot over 40% from 3. You still lose because your defense hasn't been good enough. And then we can also go back to the roster, guys. It's the roster. The roster isn't that good. It's pretty good. But you look at the players who were closing. And this is what I go back to. I'm going to keep going back to this. I wasn't a massive Taylor Jenkins fan, but I think it's the roster. The closing lineup, Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., plus Santi Aldama and Jalen Wells. When you think about the year-over-year roster construction and the players they've put around Ja, Jaren, and Desmond, and you say, okay, for this year's playoffs, 3 years, 3 seasons after winning 56 games and making it to the second round and putting a scare in the eventual champion Warriors, 3 seasons later, what have we added to close games with? What's our closing 5 alongside Ja, Jaren, and Desmond? Okay, it's Santi Aldama, who's gotten better, and Jalen Wells, a rookie you took in the second round. Maybe sometimes it'll be Zach Edey, a rookie you drafted. Maybe sometimes it'll be Luke Kennard over Jalen Wells. By the way, Luke Kennard, 21 minutes of cardio on Saturday night. It was the most minutes Luke Kennard's ever played without attempting a field goal. 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 field goal attempts in 21 minutes. But all right, we're closing games with Luke Kennard or Jalen Wells or Zach Edey or Santi Aldama alongside your big 3. How is this any better? And you look at this game where Lamar Stevens is playing minutes. Lamar Stevens wasn't on an NBA team before the Grizzlies signed him this year. Vince Williams Jr. is guarding Luka Doncic and LeBron James at times. That's your plan? That's your plan for winning a playoff series? That's your plan for advancing in the postseason? Not ideal. Anyways, for some good news, Ja Morant played, physically looked good, at least until he started limping and grabbing his hamstring. He's not on the injury report for the Celtics game tonight. I think the good news is that, again, your big 3 looked good. Wasn't the best game from Ja, but he flirted with a triple-double. Had 22 points, 10 assists, 8 rebounds. Had 4 turnovers, got caught in the air a few times. But played 31 minutes, looked athletic, was attacking and getting to the rim. Desmond Bane was great. Jaren in the second half was great. Zach Edey, like I said, one of his best games of the year. Jalen Wells had a fine game. Scottie Pippen Jr. continued his great run of play. Once again, yet another game from Scottie, scoring at least 15 points. He's got a nice little streak working there. He played 18 minutes, made 6 out of his 8 field goal attempts. 16 points, 5 assists, and a steal. Santi, unfortunately, missed all 4 of his 3-pointers, but had 8 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. The team is talented, and it's still young. Just now, you're looking at a season kind of going off the rails. And obviously, when you start off so hot, going off the rails feels a lot worse. It's like if you start the year playing 500 ball for the first 50 games and then go on a big run, you feel obviously much better than this scenario. When it's flipped, you feel terrible. And right now, I think Grizzlies fans not feeling super great. And now the Grizzlies are sort of playing for their season over the next 2 weeks, and it starts tonight, a game against the Celtics, and then on Tuesday, they will face the Warriors in a massive game. I mean, they have to go to the Pistons, man. The Pistons are destroying teams. And you got to play the Timberwolves and Nuggets on a back-to-back later. It's a big ask. Will Ja and Jaren and Desmond be up for it? Will they take the ownership of not being good enough this year and Taylor Jenkins losing his job because of it? What does the season hold? We will find out shortly. Anyways, hope to see some of you guys at Noble's Beer Hall on Tuesday night in Nashville. For the rest of you, if you want some extra content from me and you want to support the creation of the show, you can do that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. All right, hope you guys have a great Monday. I'll talk to you soon. Go Grizz.